From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper, and it is time for the premier sports betting show. The PrimeTime Angles Live. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great, and we have ourselves a fun little week ahead of us and everything like that. When it comes to college football, last night it was confirmed that you have Georgia at number 1, you have Cincinnati number 2, then you have Alabama number 3, and then you have the Michigan Wolverines is the number 4 seed. So if everything works out this weekend, if Alabama was able to get a big upset, they'll be able to lock themselves in. And also, if Michigan's able to beat Iowa, they'll be able to lock themselves in as well, too. Now, Georgia, I think, is already an automatic lock for the Final Four. It doesn't matter if they win or lose their game. I know they really do want to win the game, but you know, if they do lose, they will still have an opportunity to be in the Final Four because simply the SEC has pretty much confirmed that they can get 2 teams in every single year. It doesn't matter. And then with the Cincinnati situation, Cincinnati, they lose, they're out. They probably won't even be in the top 10 anymore if they lose. And I'm going to tell you like this. Out of all 4 of these teams, you got 2 playing each other. So you can cancel out Georgia and Alabama. But I'm gonna be dead honest with you guys. It's gonna be a very, very tough game for Cincinnati. Reason being is because they're going against an 11-1 Houston team who's seen as the other really good team in the AAC, a team that could have been in the top 5 this year as well, too, if they were undefeated, because they have a really good team. And so we will go ahead and preview all those mid-major championships right now, but all in all, though, from what I can see here, the Final Four is sealed yet. We have to get through this weekend, but I can say one thing, though. One team is already in, for sure, and that's Georgia. And everybody else, they really do have to go ahead and win their games to even think about still sticking around. And when you have Oklahoma State on the outside looking in, they can get the biggest moment of the school history in some time by, you know, being in the Final Four and in the year where Oklahoma confirms that they're about to leave the Big 12 and pretty much leave the Bedlam rivalry right where it's at. So that would be great for Oklahoma State. Great gift for them. But let's go ahead and talk about the games that we have in front of us. And up first, as I was just talking about, was the AAC Championship game between Houston and Cincinnati. Now, Cincinnati does have things working in their favor. People have to understand they do not play their home games on a neutral field. They actually play the home game. They actually play championship game on the team with the best records field. So Cincinnati has the advantage in that department. And when I look at everything, how it's setting up, you have Houston, a team that's 11-1, as I said before, number 24 in the nation. And they come in here 6-5-1 against the spread. Then when it comes to over-unders, they have went over in 6 of their 12 games this year. And then, but they have one push as well, too. So so that's why I'm saying it like that. And then as an underdog, they're 2-0 against the spread and straight up. And surprisingly, they weren't the underdog against Texas Tech in their only loss of the season. You would think that Big 12 team, AAC team, but no, Houston was the actual favorite in that game. And then when it comes to over and unders, they went over in both of their games as a dog. Now, on the road, they're 6-0, but against the spread, they're 3-2-1. And on the road, they've actually went ahead and went over in 4 out of their 6 games on the road as well, too. So it shows that they're scoring some points on the road, and usually when they're on the road, they're scoring about 35 points or better. So this is something Cincinnati has to prepare themselves for. I know that they do have a great defense, but this is a championship game, and all your flaws are going to get shown. Cincinnati 7-5 against the spread, 12-0 in the season. When it comes to the over and under, they've won under in 7 out of their 12 games. No surprise there because this team plays they blow out a lot of teams and games are over by the half, and so they pretty much stop the breaks, and that's where they go from there. Now they're 12-0, 7-5 against the spread as a favorite. They're 5-7 over and under as they've went under in 7 out of their 12 games. So pretty much the same results because they've been the favorite in every single game they played in this season, including the Notre Dame game. And then when it comes to the at home, of course, they're undefeated, 6-0, but against the spread, they're 4-2. Now, when it comes to the over and under, they are split at 3. So Cincinnati is coming in here. When you look at the numbers, they probably went out when you look at it, but I really do think that Houston, when you're giving a team 10.5 points and they are 11-1, and pretty much they're the number 24 ranked team in the nation, you have to show them some respect. So I think 10.5 is a bit too high, but we know that if they lay it at 6.5, everybody's going to take Cincinnati. So this is just for equal betting, and I think that Houston winds up being a very strong bet, but I still think that odds makers got this one wrong when it comes down to how you judge the how you judge the line. The line should not be 10.5 at all. You know what I mean? So pretty much Houston's going to get a lot of attention when it comes to folks looking for a big dog, some big value. Houston has all of that this weekend because there are no guarantees for Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a very good team. But the thing is, have they really been challenged this season? That's the whole thing. And I think if they get challenged for a bit, they might not get the results that they're looking for. But this is the most important game in school history. That's all I can say. And Cincinnati has been able to, stand up to the pressure. But this time around, though, the pressure is just a little bit different because this game means absolutely everything. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But that is going to probably be one of the better championship games over the weekend as well, too. All right, we move on to the Conference USA. We have Western Kentucky going against San Antonio. UTSA coming into this game. This is going to be their first Conference USA championship game. They've had an incredible season. They went 11-1. This team a few years back, I don't even think they won a game. They were really, really bad. So now they've really turned the corner. And I definitely remember last season them not being that great either. But for some odd reason this year, you got all your upperclassmen still coming back. People got better over the summer. They wound up having an 11-1 record. Now, Western Kentucky has been in this spot plenty of times here in the Conference USA since they joined this conference. And I think that Western Kentucky comes in here 8-4, and they have a lot of confidence. But when it comes down to a season matchup, San Antonio did beat Western Kentucky as the road team 52-46 as a 3.5 point dog. So when we look at this one, you have Western Kentucky 8-3-1 against the spread. They've went over in 8 out of their 12 games this year. Straight up as the underdog, they're 0-3, but against the spread, they're 2-1 as the underdog. Now, when it comes down to conference, they're 7-1 straight up in Conference USA, and then they're 6-2 against the spread in Conference USA as well too. And then they're split when it comes down to the over and under. Now, we have San Antonio here, UTSA, 11-1. They're 8-4 against the spread. They've dropped the last 3, but they're 2-1 straight up in those games. Then when it comes to the over and under, they're split at 6. And then when it comes down to them as a favorite this year, they're 8-1 straight up as the favorite. 5-4 against the spread as the fave, and then same identical record as Western Kentucky. The tiebreaker is the win that San Antonio did get over them earlier in the season. They're 7-1 straight up in Conference USA. Then they're 5-3 against the spread in Conference USA, and then also they've went over in 5 out of their 8 games in conference play this year as well too. So when I look at this one to me says that most likely Western Kentucky is going to go off as the favorite. I know I listed them as the underdog, but I think that this betting is going to keep going back and forth. As you can see, when I was putting the notes together, San Antonio was the favorite, but now they've been bet into being the dog. But it's really literally a pick 'em. So I'm going to I feel like the dog here, the team that they'll be saying is the one that got the upset is going to be Western Kentucky. So that's why I put them as the underdog. So I think Western Kentucky knows that they want to right a wrong, because if they don't lose to San Antonio, then they're hosting the home game right now. And they have the championship experience as well too. But also, at the end of the day, you got this Texas team playing in the Alamo Dome, and they seem to be very quirky in that stadium from games that I've seen in the past. So I think that we're in store for a absolute classic between these two teams. I know it's a mid-major game, but it's going to wind up going down to the final moments. In my opinion, I think that we're going to wind up having ourselves a damn good game. So there it is with that, and we move forward, and let's go ahead and get into the MAC Championship. Mac Daddy make it jump, and and as everybody knows, they play this game at Ford Field. This is the only mid-major I think that actually plays at a neutral location. Well, the Mountain West is moved their championship game to Carson this year over at Dignity Health. So yeah, they'll be playing on neutral territory as well too. And then the Sun Belt is getting settled in Louisiana in the Cajun country. So we have ourselves Northern Illinois 8-4, Kent State 7-5. Kent State hadn't won a bowl game a few years back, and I don't know, like they hadn't even been to a bowl game in like 30, 40 years, and then they absolutely crushed Utah State, who was led by of all quarterbacks, Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers. So that's pretty crazy that you got the future replacement for Aaron Rodgers, and that was his final game, and Kent State sent him home not too happy that day. So Kent State 5-7 against the spread. They've went under in 7 out of their 12 games this year. 6-0 straight up as the favorite, because they are the favorite here, 3.5 points. And also they are 5-1 against the spread this year as the favorite. And then as the favorite when it comes to the over and under, those games have went under 4 out of the 6 games they've been the favorite. And then in the MAC, they're 6-2 straight up, 5-3 against the spread, and then they've went over in 5 out of the 8 games they played in conference. Then you have Northern Illinois, the upset kings this season. They've been having a really good year. They actually opened up the season with a monster upset over Georgia Tech. I know it's kind of lowly because it's Georgia Tech, but it's still the ACC, and it's still something that that they took care of their business, and they won a game to start the season off right. And I think that there wasn't many expectations for Northern Illinois this year, but after that big win, things changed a lot with this group. They went 7-4-1 against the spread. They went over in 7 out of their 12 games this season. And then as an underdog, they were 4-4 straight up as the underdog, and 4-3-1 against the spread. Now, as an underdog over and under, they went over 5 out of those 8 games this year as well too. And then 6-2 in the MAC, 5-3 against the spread in the MAC. And then they're even when it comes to the over and under. And I say the upset kings, I know it's 4-4, but still, some of those games, some of those losses come from top tier schools. Now, for their wins, pretty much 4 of those wins, one of them was against the Power 5 school, and 3 of them were against teams that were seen as top teams in the MAC, but wound up not being top teams in the MAC because they got defeated by Northern Illinois, and they had big odds on them. Big win over Central Michigan, big win over Toledo as well too. So this team is moving in the right direction right now, in my opinion. And I think that this game does really come down to who wants it more in the fourth quarter if the game is still competitive, because these MAC games get a little out of hand. And I think that this one has the capability of not being that game this year. You know what I mean? So I think that we're going to wind up having ourselves a really good first 3 quarters, and then it's going to come down to who wants it more in the fourth quarter, like it always does in the MAC. So there it is, MAC Championship featuring Kent State going against Northern Illinois University at the Ford Field in beautiful downtown Detroit. All right, so there it is with that. And we move forward with our next game, with the game I just mentioned, which is going to be at Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson on Saturday afternoon. And this is going to be Utah State plus 175 going at San Diego State minus 225, 5.5 on the spread, and then an over under of 50.5. Now, this game, we have Utah 9-3, Utah State 9-3, San Diego State is 11-1, and San Diego State has been in this position before where they've been just world beaters all throughout the season. But we all know that San Diego State has a slight problem in closing and scoring in a sense as well too. But they've seemed to get the job done all season this season. And the only loss that they did get was against their one of their arch rivals, Fresno State, and that team beat UCLA this year. So that's not a bad loss at all, because when it came down to it, it could have been either Fresno or San Diego State, but Fresno just didn't take care of their business in the conference this year. You know, they dropped some games that they should have won. Now you have the Mountain West Championship game here. So you have Utah State, who's been quietly really, really good this year. Nobody has been mentioning them that much, but they've been the consistent in the Mountain West, other than San Diego State. And that's why they're here in this championship game. Now, they are 7-5 against the spread. They've won under 7 out of their 12 games as well, too. As an underdog, they are 3-2 against the spread and straight up. And then also when it comes to over and under in the same situation, they've went under in 4 out of those 5 games. Now, in the Mountain West, they're 6-2 straight up, 5-3 against the spread, and they've split on the over and under. Now you have San Diego State 6-6 against the spread. They've went under in 7 out of their 12 games this year as well too. They're 7-0 straight up as the favorite, 2-5 against the spread as the favorite, and then they've went under in 5 out of those 7 games they played as the favorite. Now in the conference, they're 7-1 straight up, but 3-5 against the spread, and then they have went under in 5 out of the 8 games this season. So this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. San Diego State is very tough to trust, and they are going to be a 5.5 point favorite. And you look at that and say, well, they can win by a touchdown. They can mess around and lose the game by 10, because that's how San Diego State is. Like, when it comes down to some big moments, sometimes they just don't show up. And Utah State has the type of defense that can make it to where they're not going to show up. Okay, so I would say this: you don't want to be too gung-ho with San Diego State in the spot. And then, quite possibly, I don't like to give this type of advice. If you love the spread, 5.5 is a good number, because 6.5, but 5.5 is a pretty good number, because it kind of gives you a little bit of room to breathe, because if you win by 6, you can cash the ticket. But all in all, though, I think that the 5.5 really is something that works better for Utah State, because it's telling me more and more that the upset may be going down in this game as well. But I think San Diego State has enough at the end of the day to go ahead and eke out a very good win here. And I know that it's going to come down to inches. And we know that there's going to be some good defense getting played in this game because there's always really good defense that gets played in the Mountain West Championship. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But there it is, Utah State, San Diego State vying for the Mountain West Championship in the city of Carson. All right, so we move on, and let's go ahead and talk about probably the best mid-major game of them all, but it's not going to get that much love because it's the Sun Belt Conference. You got Appalachian State coming in here at 10-2, and the Raging Cajuns coming in here at 11-1. And crazy thing is, the only loss that the Raging Cajuns Lafayette had this season was against Texas in the opener this season. And other than that, they've just been lights out. With App State, it's different. They lost to Miami because they've had these yearly games with Miami for like the last 5 years, and they keep somewhat losing the game by 2 or 3 points. So they lost that game early in the season, and then they came in as a 5-point favorite in Louisiana not too long ago, and went ahead and lost the game 41-13. Also, just a heads up as well, too, Kent State won the head-to-head with Northern Illinois this year as well, too. At home, though, 52-47. Just wanted to throw that out there to you guys. All right, so we have a rematch here, and Lafayette is having the season of their dreams, but, you know, they're number 20 in the nation. I know that they're not going to get any love when it comes down to it at the end of the day to where they could be in a New Year's Eve bowl or something of that nature, but I think that they'll be doing better than the Cormelia Bowl this year because that's usually where you see the winner of the Sun Belt playing against, like, I guess the second place team in the MAC or something like that. They play that bowl game is it's one of the first bowl games played. So hopefully Lafayette gets some love and they don't have to be put into that game right there. So we got but they got to win this one first, though. Sorry about that. But you got Appalachian State. They're coming into this one 8-4 against the spread. They've won under 7 out of their 12 games this season. And they will be the favorite in this game as well, too, at 3.5, as you guys can see, at 3. And so pretty much they are 9-1 straight up as the favorite. They're 6-4 against the spread. And then they're even when it comes to the over and under. Now, in conference, their lone loss, like I said before, was the 41-13 loss to Lafayette. And they're 7-1 straight up in the Sun Belt, 6-2 against the spread, and they've went under in 5 out of their 8 games in conference. So pretty much we have Lafayette here with the 5-7 against the spread, and then the 3-9. They've went under in 9 out of their 12 games, and then also as an underdog, they're 2-1. Against the spread and straight up, and 1-2 over and under as an underdog. So they're 8-1 in conference play, 8-0, and they're 4-4 against the spread in conference play, and then they've went under in 7 out of the 8 games in conference play this year. So this team is looking to possibly make this another under game. You got an over under of 53.5, but this game right here is going to be much tougher for Louisiana because you have a App State team that was absolutely crushed by them a few weeks back. But then on the other hand is if you can go ahead and rekindle what worked in that game, then you can come back around and win this one as well too. But I think it means more for Louisiana to win this game, but this just feels like the game that they come up short in. You know what I mean? But we'll see how it goes because they were in the championship game last year, and I think they came short in that game as well, too. So this year, you hope that they can come back, get themselves a good win. Kind of shocking that we didn't get Coastal Carolina in this game because they did have one of the top quarterbacks in the nation this year. But, hey, you can only go as far as your team can go, right? So with that, we'll go ahead and we'll wrap this up, but we'll have more tomorrow. With the Power 5 set of the championship game. So you guys stay tuned. And when I get back, we're going to go ahead and talk some Lakers. And then we're going to get into the NBA and also go ahead and talk some tickets as well, too. So you guys stay tuned. This is the Premier Sports Betting Show, the PrimeTime Angles Live. The Viget app, where social media meets sports betting. Get the latest line movements in all major sports. Track your daily bets, daily contests, the NFL over-under contest that pays out $10K in cash prizes. This is a cutting-edge app that helps betting be easy. Sign up with the reference code POPDBIC and you will be able to watch my daily show, The Primetime Angles, as a resource to building that bankroll. Viget is available in your Apple or Google Store on your iOS or Android. The social sports betting app, Viget.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
All right, we're back with the Premier Sports Betting Show, The Primetime Angles Live. And last night wound up being one of the best nights for the Lakers that they've had all season. A few hours before the game, they announced that LeBron James wasn't going to be taking part in the game and was going to miss the next 10 days because of health and protocol. Most likely he has COVID. So pretty much the Lakers had to go without their future Hall of Famer and everything like that last night, but it was okay because they got big effort from Malik Monk last night. Malik Monk knocked down 6 threes on 50% shooting as well, too, and shot 60% from the three-point stripe as well, too, dropping 22 points. Now, this was very helpful because AD and Westbrook were able to get 48 last night. And this wound up helping the cause. But the biggest thing that happened for the Lakers last night was them giving up 33 points in the second half and being able to score 67. Now, they had themselves a very, very strong third quarter where they just literally came out and blitzed the Kings, who had a 9-point lead coming into the third quarter as well, too. They started the game off very well against the Lakers, but the Lakers wound up scoring 30 points or more every quarter except for the first. Now, they got off to a slow start, but it's okay because they stepped it up. But one thing I did like last night is that Anthony Davis made sure that he asserted himself and put himself into the game very quickly. I think he got about 10 points in about the first 8 minutes or so last night, and that was very helpful towards his confidence moving forward. So he had himself a good game last night. Russ had himself a Russ game last night, 23 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and he cut the turnovers down last night as well, too. He only had 4 of those, so that wasn't too bad last night because Malik Monk had 4 of them. Westbrook still led us in turnovers. I thought I saw 4 turnovers on Malik Monk, but that was 4 assists. Dwight Howard actually wound up being maybe the most valuable player of the night, the X factor, and really helping us get this win because he was able to get a double-double last night in 35 minutes of play off the bench, and he got 12 points, 13 rebounds, which was very helpful, very needed, and something that the Lakers have been dying for all season. Now, I still just don't really understand why DeAndre Jordan's still getting playing time, and befuddles me that he's a starter as well, too. He only played 4 minutes last night, got 2 rebounds, and that's it. You know what I mean? And we didn't hear from him for the rest of the night. Now, I think the Lakers need to figure out where they can find a real high motor player that loves the rebound. and not a guy who's 35. Okay, not a guy who was great back in 2010. You need somebody who can do the job now. You know what I mean? And I think that, when the Lakers are talking about moving players and moving parts and things like that, that's needs to be the at the top of the list at this point right now, because that's really what you need to really go ahead and dominate in this league. It's somebody that can just eat those boards up. And we thought we had got it with Drummond, but Drummond went to wind up being he was trying to be a diva and score and stuff like that, and he just didn't want to stick to the role that we assumed he could do. You know what I mean? So now he's in Philadelphia. He's playing much better basketball. That's how it always works, right? So the Lakers get themselves a great win last night. They win by 25. They're 12-11, and I think the Lakers made me look pretty good when I keep trying to tell you guys that it's still early in the season. This team is still getting to know each other, and there's players that haven't even played yet that can help us move this thing forward. But the thing is, y'all got to have some patience. And I think this right here is going to be a good time for the Lakers to learn about each other as a group without LeBron always interjecting his thoughts and interjecting what his game plan is going to be. You know what I mean? And so I think that this is absolutely best for the Lakers right now, that they start off the month of December without their star and try to figure things out, because that was a good team victory last night. And everybody stepped in, and you saw big smiles everywhere with that team last night. And that's what you like to see with the Lakers. So with that, we'll wrap up State of the Lakers, and we move on to the NBA. And in the NBA, we got the Wednesday night games. We got a nine game card tonight. 9-game slate. I don't have all 9 of those games on the card, but we got NBA Wednesday night, and I was tripping because I said, why does TNT keep coming on Tuesday night? And then I said, oh yeah, they don't want to go at it with the NFL Thursday night. So I'm looking forward to when they get back to Thursday night. I don't know. Tuesday night just don't seem right to me with TNT. All right, so we have ourselves our first game up here, and it's going to be the Nuggets at the Magic. The Nuggets, of course, coming in here as a heavy favorite, minus 300 on the money line, Magic plus 240, and they are giving the Magic plus 7.5. So I'm tweaking that real quick, but yeah, they're getting plus 7.5 right now. And so pretty much that's pretty good for a home team, but this team is lousy. Okay, it's that simple. I don't know what they're doing at this point. Are they rebuilding? Or are they just going with the flow of the NBA? It's that when you see the Orlando Magic, a team that had so much potential in the beginning and was such a big deal in the beginning of their time, because they had Shaquille O'Neal, Penny Hardaway, and now it's like they're irrelevant NBA team. It's like, man, Jacksonville Jaguars, Orlando Magic, it's just all bad for you. If you're not winning and don't have stars, don't nobody care. So when I look at I'm evaluating how both these teams played this month. Okay, and last month in November. I have to remember it is the first of the month. So yeah, first of the month. I know everybody's excited because it's that time of the year. It's the final month of the year as well, too. And everybody says the year has been going by pretty fast. I think the year has been kind of slow, to be honest with you. But that's what happens when you're doing a lot of stuff. All right, so we got the Nuggets and the Magic. And the Nuggets coming here 6-8 straight up from the month of November. Then in November as well, they went 5-9 against the spread. They went over in 8 out of the 14 games that they did play in the month of November. Now, the Magic had an absolutely terrible month. They were 2-3 straight up in November. But against the spread, they were helping bettors make some money because they were 7-8 against the spread. But you're going to get that because when you got plus 14s and plus 15s, if you're not covering spreads, then you're absolutely awful. And so pretty much 7-8 on the spread is no surprise to me, because, you're getting the numbers to where you can go ahead and cover that. And then we have this team going under in 11 out of the 15 games they played in the month of November. Now, when I look at the way this game is setting up, as I keep saying and keep looking at Orlando, they just can't score, man. So, they haven't, so only time I feel like teams are scoring is when they see the Lakers and the Celtics. So, I think the Nuggets will tighten it up tonight and they'll have themselves a really good game here. So, I think that the under 208.5 is a good player because it's just been such easy money. So let's just keep riding that trend, riding that wave. Let's see how it goes. All right. So with that, we move on to our next game, and our next game is going to be a game between two teams that are playing really good basketball, in my opinion. They didn't start off playing well. The Wizards started off playing good ball all year, but the Wolves didn't start off that well. And it's crazy because the Wolves went from a team at one point this season that was 3-7, and then they wind up tearing it up here after dropping their first 5 games of the month. They wound up finishing out the month 8-3. So they did pretty good for themselves, and they were able to go ahead and match back up that 5-game losing streak as well too. So they put themselves in a confident position because now they're sitting at the 8th seed and everything like that. And Anthony Edwards is an absolute gem. I think that watching him play is very worth the price of admission live. Seriously, I saw him play against Philly the night that we had them as the dogs over the weekend, and he was just having literally the Anthony Edwards dunk show all in Philly, and I thought it was absolutely incredible. I said, if you're a young child or a middle schooler or something like that, that these are the games like that you like, man, wow, this makes me want to really, really play ball. So they went 8-8 against the spread and straight up in November, and also they were even in those 16 games when it came to the over unders as well too. Now the Wizards, on the other hand, 8-7 straight up this month, but they went 6-9 against the spread, and then they went under 10 out of their 15 games played this month. Now, when I look at this one, we got the Wizards at home. The Wizards been absolutely lights out at the crib, so I think that they're going to keep riding their home streak here, and I think they get themselves a good win tonight. I like the 4.5 on them, and from what I'm hearing, Anthony Edwards is a 50-50 for tonight, so that's why I feel the Wizards are the better play here because the Wolves been balling, but wears and tears do happen in the NBA. So I like the Wizards tonight with the minus 4.5. Let's see how it checks out. Let's see how it goes, and we move forward from there. All right, so we have ourselves our next game up. It's a oldie but goodie. The Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers, one of the oldest rivalries in the NBA. And these teams are coming in here. Both of them are kind of going through the motions, but I would say this, the 76ers trying to get their footing back. I don't know what's going on with Ben Simmons. He hasn't been mentioned in a month, but hopefully Philadelphia is able to get something for him soon because I know he's not coming back to play for him. I just know that for a fact. And then, you got the Celtics. They're going to make a big trade soon, and it's going to be one of their stars as well, too. You hate to see that Brown and Tatum are going to be breaking up, but I think that it's inevitable for this season. I think that they're trying to bring in somebody else or some type of other star that can really, fit with one or the other, but I think that Jaylen Brown would be the one that they would move on from, even though I feel like he would be in better shape keeping Jaylen Brown and moving on from Jason Tatum. Now, when I look at the 76ers last month, they were 7-8 straight up. But the problem with the Sixers was this. They started 8-1 on the season after a quick 4-game winning streak to start the month. They looked absolutely dreadful. They wound up going 3-9 after having that 8-1 start. So yeah, it's been pretty rough for this team this month. And they lost a lot of those games in a row as well, too. But that's because Embiid was out for 2 weeks. Now, against the spread, same thing, 7-8. And when it comes to the over and under, they went under in 8 out of the 15 games that they played last month. All right, so Celtics come back into December much better in my opinion. 9-6 straight up last month, and they went 10-5 against the spread. They went under in 9 out of the 15 games they played. So the Celtics come into this one feeling pretty good moving forward. They're much better than they were to start the season off as well, too. As you guys know, they started the season off 2-4. Now they find themselves 11-10. And the Eastern Conference is a little tough this year. So, you got to really be able to keep up with the group, and they did just that. So all in all, I really do think this game winds up going over tonight. I think we're going to get some points here. I think Embiid's going to get some points here. I think that Tatum's going to get some points here. We're going to have a good old Atlantic Division shootout tonight. Last night's game with the Knicks and Nets was incredible. That's probably the game of the week, if not the game of the month last night, because that game went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I got the same feeling that this game will have the same type of action going to it as well, too. So we'll see how it goes. And there it is, 76ers at the Celtics tonight. Celtics are the slight favorite here as well, at 2.5 on the spread and minus 140 on the money line. And then we got a very hittable 206.5 over and under, and I like the over in this spot. So let's move on to our Western Conference matchup that I have for you guys tonight, and that's going to be this one right here. It's going to be the Dallas Mavericks at the New Orleans Pelicans, and the Pelicans have actually won their last 3 out of 4 games as well too. Now this team on the season, they're only 6-17, but that's pretty good for a team that had been going through the motions the whole month. Now, the Mavs are a back and forth team right now. It's just really weird how this team is moving and like how they're still surviving, in my opinion. They're 10-9 on the season, but they keep running into bad ruts of the season as well, too. But then they bounce back and have a good, 4, 5, 6 games in a row. Now, I say this because they went 6-7 straight up in November, but they lost the last 5 out of 6 games of the month as well, too. And then when it comes down to the spread, they're 6-7 against the spread as well. Now, when it comes to the over, they went over in 7 out of the 13 games that they played in last month. And see, they didn't even have to play that many games last month, but that's kind of probably why the Mavs struggled a bit as well too last month, because they had too many days off spaced and apart, and then that happens. You play a few back-to-backs and things just don't work out the way that they're supposed to. Now you have the Pelicans, who are 5-11 straight up in the month of November, and as I said before, they won their last 3 out of 4. Now against the spread, they were 6-10, and when it came down to the over and under, they went under in 11 out of their 15 games. Now, they, to me, are playing their best ball of the early season. They're getting ramped up, getting prepared for Zion to come back. So I think tonight the Mavericks are going to be an over bet, because when they set the lineup at 3.5 for a team that's 6-17, there's something that's going on there. And it's just fishy to me. And I think that this is just bait for people to overbet the Mavericks for the Pelicans to get themselves a nice little upset victory. And they've just been better the last 5 games or so. And they've been beating really good teams. They blew out the Clippers twice in this run as well, too. So I think the Clippers are a bit better than the Mavericks, and so I think the Pelicans go ahead and get themselves a nice little upset today as our dog of the day at plus 135. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the final game in the group, and that's going to be the Hornets and the Bucks. This could possibly, I know this was probably the NBA TV game of the night because pretty much you got LaMelo Ball going against Giannis the Greek Freak, and you got the Hornets 13-10 with the Bucks 13-8, and the Hornets haven't had a good start like this in a while. Now the Hornets went 8-8 in November, and they were 7-8-1 against the spread last month. And now when it comes down to over and under, they're even. Now you have to understand this team lost the first 5 games of the month, then won 5 in a row, and then split the rest. Okay, so that's pretty much what you're dealing with right now with this team. You know what I mean? So the Hornets seem to be turning that corner at this point, but guess what? They're playing in like the toughest division, which was the worst division last year and the year before. So, the Southeast is different this year. You got Miami, one of the better teams in the NBA. The Wizards, one of the better teams in the NBA. You got the Hornets here as well, too. The Hawks are on their way. The only team in that division that just knows that it's already over is the Magic. So, yeah, it's already tough sledding, and I think this is helping the Hornets when it comes to playing in these big games that they've encountered the last few weeks. Now you got a Bucks team that's starting to hit their stride a bit. To start the season, they were absolutely dreadful. Now at this point, they're 10-4 after that 3-4 start to the season. They're 10-4. They were 10-4 straight up in November, and they've won their last 7 games in a row. Now, when it comes to the spread, they're 7-7 against the spread. Their last 14 games, which was the month of November. So they covered the last 4 as well, too. Now, in the month of November, they went under in 9 out of those 14 games. So you got a Bucks team, like I just said, they're starting to heat up. But you know what? This, again, is going to wind up being somewhat of an overbet because you have yourself a team in the Hornets that are playing right there with everybody. And I'm not saying the Hornets win the game tonight, but I think that they're going to be good enough to cover that point spread tonight. I think that if they lose, it's by 5 or less. They're going to make the Bucks work a little bit. And you guys know one thing, the Bucks were like so bad against the Hornets the last few seasons. So I'm kind of just putting that into fruition, and I'm seeing that the Hornets have the best team they've had in years. So I think this works out. But just to be on the safe side, we're going to do the insurance play. And I like the which has been bumped up now to 9. I like the +9. Let's see how it goes. And let's see what that game beholds. It should be a really good one tonight. You got 2 superstars in the NBA going at it as well, too. So always good theater when you go to Milwaukee. So there it is. That's NBA Wednesday night. And now let's go ahead and talk those tickets. And tonight I got the same thing as yesterday. I have the CBB PrimeTime PK6, a la the ACC Big Ten Challenge. And then we also have as daily the NBA Super High Five. So let's go ahead and check it on out. And this is where we're at. In the ACC Big Ten Challenge, we got the ticket set up at 55-1. In that game, in the first game, we have Maryland at -115. They are the host for that game as well, too. We have the other host, North Carolina State, at 6.5. Come on, they're playing Nebraska, but Nebraska does have a good record coming into the game. But I just think that it's going to be a tough day in Raleigh today. So we have Louisville as our de facto CBB dog of the day, +155 going against Michigan State. Michigan State, to me, is not that good. So I like Louisville going into this game. I know that Michigan State's probably going to be overbet. That's the main reason for taking Louisville in the spot. Let's see how Louisville does. Let's see how it shakes out. +155 on Louisville. Then we have Penn State. Penn State it doesn't matter to me. It's Penn State. Penn State always figures out a way to win these home games and win them by 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points. So that's where I'm going today is with Penn State. I know that you look at the matchup and pretty much you say to yourself, it's really a busting, it's a really even situation. But I think that Penn State being at home and this being what it is, it's going to be a good night for Penn State against a Miami team that's just been getting bulldozed as of late. Yeah, they're 4-3 on the season, but that tournament that they just played in, they were losing the teams that aren't even mid-majors. They were losing the small schools. So yeah, I can't trust that right now. So I'm taking the Penn State to have themselves a pretty good day today over in Happy Valley. Then we got Georgia Tech, probably the most trustworthy team you can circle at in the ACC when it comes to the Thriller Dome. I'm telling you right now, the Thriller Dome is a absolute gem when it comes to home court advantage. And, Georgia Tech just keeps winning at home in big games. And tonight is no different. They got Wisconsin coming in here, number 23. They're already off to a really good start. Usually Georgia Tech doesn't start the season this well, but right now they're 5-1. Wisconsin's 5-1. This is probably, when you look at records, the best matchup of the night. But I think that with the plus 3.5, we give ourselves a chance. And we know that Georgia Tech should be in this game. I know that the money line will probably be better because it does have the value there. But once again, I'm playing the insurance. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. And then I end this group with Michigan and going to Chapel Hill and getting themselves a nice victory. You know what I mean? This is a tough place to win at, but this ain't the same North Carolina Tar Heels that we're used to, okay? Coach Hube it's gonna take him a while, okay? Coach Davis, it's just gonna take a while, all right, because they're making a transition from literally one of the greatest college coaches of all time to a brand new coach who's been a really good top assistant for years. So we'll see how it goes, and hopefully, North Carolina gets back on the good foot sooner rather than later. But I think that tonight, Michigan gets themselves a good win tonight. They're already 4-2 on the season. It's kind of sad for Michigan. Michigan goes from being the number 4 team in the nation to being the number 24 team in the nation now. So, they dropped a lot of spots, but it's okay. It's okay because they'll be back around when it matters. All right, so we got the NBA Super High Five. As I said before, I love the under 208.5 with the Nuggets and the Magic. Wizards minus 4.5 tonight as well, too. And then we have the over 206.5 with the 76ers and the Celtics. The dog bet of the day, Pelicans money line plus 135. And the team that replaced the Pelicans in Charlotte, the old Charlotte Hornets, the new Charlotte Hornets, I'm going to take them tonight with the plus 9. So that ticket is 30-1. I like what I see here. I think that we're in good shape tonight. And you know what? We're going to have ourselves some fun. We got a 55-1 and a 30-1 tonight. The bad boys hit. Christmas is early, or put into the Christmas fund. So I like. So I want to thank you guys very much for tuning in today. You guys are the absolute best. And, we'll be back tomorrow. I know it's at first I thought I had to remember I got to do NFL bet exchange. So I was supposed to be out, but thing is though, I got to make sure we do the show as well too. So pretty much you guys make sure to tune in for NFL bet exchange. And then a little bit after that, the Primetime Angles Live. So there it is. Once again, you guys are the absolute best. I'll be back with you tomorrow. As I always say, if you got a hunch, bet a bunch. Always bet with your head and not with your heart. The movement is moving, and this is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles Live, and I'm your host, the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, and I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a